A senior military officer walks into a forest with a radiation detector and a tape recorder. He is investigating reports from his own men, trained soldiers at a NATO nuclear weapons base, who say they touched a craft that should not exist. What he records over the next few hours has never been explained, and by the end of this episode, you will hear exactly what he documented. The question I want you to answer in the comments is this: is he lying? In the early hours of December the 26th, 1980, United States military personnel stationed at RAF Woodbridge in Suffolk, England, observed unusual lights descending into Rendlesham Forest. What happened over the following 2 nights would become the most significant military UFO encounter in British history, documented not by conspiracy theorists, but by the servicemen themselves in official reports, audio recordings and sworn testimony. This was not a civilian sighting. This was a NATO nuclear weapons installation. The witnesses were trained military observers, and the evidence has never been explained. Airman First Class John Burroughs and Sergeant Jim Penniston were among the first to respond. They entered the forest following reports of a downed aircraft. What they found was not an aircraft. Penniston described a triangular craft approximately 3 meters across, resting on the forest floor. The surface was smooth, black, and warm to the touch. There were symbols etched into the surface, raised markings that Penniston said resembled hieroglyphics. He touched them. He later said the symbols felt like they were engraved in glass. Penniston made detailed notes in his patrol notebook at the scene. He sketched the craft. He recorded the symbols. He logged the time. This was not a retrospective account. It was documented in real time by a trained military observer following standard procedure. Burroughs described the light emanating from the craft as unlike anything he had ever seen. Not a beam, not a glow, something that seemed to bend around itself. Both men reported that the encounter lasted approximately 45 minutes. Then the craft lifted silently from the ground and moved through the trees at extraordinary speed. The following night, the Deputy Base Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, led a team into the forest to investigate. Halt brought a Geiger counter, a radiation detector, and a portable tape recorder. That tape recorder would become one of the most significant pieces of evidence in UFO history. The Halt Tape, known as it is now known, captured the investigation in real time. On the recording, you can hear Halt and his team detecting elevated radiation levels at the landing site. 3 indentations were found in the ground, forming a triangular pattern consistent with Penniston's sketch from the previous night. The radiation readings at these points were significantly above background levels. Then the lights returned. On the tape, Halt can be heard calling out that a bright red light is moving through the trees. His voice shifts from measured and professional to audibly shaken. The light splits into multiple objects. One of them directs a beam of light down toward the ground near the team. Another directs a beam toward the weapons storage area, the most sensitive facility on the base. Let that sink in. An unidentified object directed a beam of energy at a facility storing nuclear weapons, and the official response was silence. Halt later wrote an official memorandum to the British Ministry of Defence, documenting the events of both nights. This memo, known as the Halt Memo, was classified and was never intended for public release. It was obtained through the Freedom of Information Act years later. In it, Halt describes the craft, the radiation readings, the landing marks, and the beam of light directed at the weapons storage area. Every word was chosen carefully by a senior military officer writing an official report through proper channels. The British Ministry of Defence's response was, effectively, silence. The file was classified. No official investigation was announced. When pressed, the MOD stated that the events posed no threat to national security. A remarkable assessment given that an unidentified craft had apparently directed a beam of energy at a facility storing nuclear weapons. Colonel Halt has since gone further than his original memo. In a signed affidavit, he stated that he believes the objects he witnessed were extraterrestrial in origin and were demonstrating capabilities far beyond any known human technology. He has stated publicly that the British and American governments have covered up the true nature of the events at Rendlesham Forest. Sergeant Penniston has maintained his account without contradiction for over 4 decades. In later years, he revealed that during his contact with the craft, he received what he describes as a binary code download, a series of ones and zeros that he compulsively wrote in his notebook in the hours following the encounter. When decoded, the binary reportedly contained coordinates pointing to locations of historical significance around the world, a claim that remains controversial even within the UFO research community. Airman Burroughs spent years attempting to obtain his medical records from the period following the encounter. The Department of Veterans Affairs initially denied that his records existed. After a prolonged legal battle, a senator intervened. The records were eventually released, but only after significant portions were classified on national security grounds. Medical records, classified on national security grounds. For an airman who was told nothing unusual had happened. Think about that. If nothing happened in Rendlesham Forest, why would a serviceman's medical records from that period need to be classified for national security? Rendlesham Forest is not an ambiguous case. There is an audio recording made during the event, there is a classified memo from the Deputy Base Commander, there are signed affidavits, there are radiation readings documented at the time, there are medical records whose classification contradicts the official position that nothing significant occurred. The evidence exists, the witnesses have never recanted, and neither government has ever provided an explanation that accounts for what was documented at a NATO nuclear installation across 2 nights in December 1980. I asked you a question at the start of this episode. Colonel Charles Halt, a decorated military officer with nothing to gain and everything to lose, recorded what he witnessed in real time, wrote an official memo and signed an affidavit. Is he lying? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. Subscribe now and follow the evidence.